Story 1. Room 616. The sun hadn't risen when Claire Madsen arrived for the overnight shift at St. Alora's Hospice, a once grand medical campus now slowly sinking into bureaucratic decay. The East Wing had been condemned for 2 years following structural issues and black mold. Half the building had no heat. Paint peeled in long strips from the walls, like the hospital itself was shedding skin. Claire had worked hospice care for most of her adult life. She had seen everything: denial, pain, madness, beauty. Death, to her, wasn't frightening anymore. But loneliness still was. Her supervisor, a gray-faced man named Dr. Rowland, handed her a single-page assignment. Patient, unknown. Room, 616. East Wing. Status, palliative oversight. Note, no chart on file. Do not move patient. Claire blinked. East Wing's sealed. Isn't it condemned? Dr. Rowland didn't look up from his clipboard. Officially, yes. But 616 still has backup power. He's not on the books. Legacy patient. Legacy? He looked at her finally, eyes flat. Just keep him comfortable. She had to pry open the East Wing doors with a crowbar. They groaned like the hull of a sinking ship. The air was damp, metallic. The power flickered. Hallway after hallway passed. The rooms were empty, some still bearing decaying Christmas decorations from God knows what year. Wheelchairs rusted in corners. Medical charts scattered the floors like dead leaves. And then, room 616. Inside, the walls were yellow with age. The old vitals monitor blinked faintly. A single man lay in the bed. Pale, wiry, unmoving, but very much alive. He turned to her the moment she stepped in. "You're not the usual one." His voice was smooth, articulate. Oddly calm. Claire introduced herself. "I'm your nurse tonight. What's your name?" They stopped asking that. Decades ago. He called himself Mr. Arlen. His skin, though pale, was free of the typical breakdown hospice patients showed. No bed sores. No stiffness. No atrophy. She checked his for saline only. No nutrition. Yet he wasn't emaciated. "Are you able to eat?" "No need. I sleep when I hunger. And time forgets me again." That first night, she assumed dementia. Hallucination, perhaps. She noted the absence of a chart, vitals slightly below average but steady. His eyes were gray-green. They didn't blink enough. On her second night, he asked, "Have the birds returned to the hallway? They used to scream when the lights were out." Claire paused. "Birds?" He smiled faintly. "No. I suppose they were never birds." By the end of the first week, Claire realized her time in the room always felt wrong. She would enter at midnight. Tend to Mr. Arlen. Talk, occasionally. But when she checked her watch, hours had passed, though the hall lights still said midnight. Twice she forgot what day it was. And sometimes, when she entered, she swore the room had moved. Not in position, but in age. Wallpaper appeared newer. Then older. One night the bed was metal, the next wood. She found a photo tucked in the drawer, a young boy in a 1920s sailor suit, standing by the bed. Scribbled in pencil on the back. Arlen, 1926. He hasn't changed. Why hasn't he changed? Claire brought in a recorder. She had to prove to herself that time wasn't slipping. She left it running during her shift. But when she played it back, it was wrong. Not missing. Looping. 3 minutes of ambient sound, over and over, with occasional fragments of Arlen's voice. The ceiling breathes now. Don't look at the window, not at night. I was the mistake. The world tried to forget. Claire confronted Dr. Rowland. Who is he? He stared blankly. There is no patient in room 616. When she insisted, he simply said, if you go back there again, don't expect to come out the same. One night, the power failed entirely. The hospital generators kicked in, but not in the East Wing. Claire, against every instinct, returned. She lit the hallway with her phone. Doors whispered as she passed them. She swore she saw faces pressed against the windows. Faces she hadn't seen in weeks. Months. Years. In room 616, Arlen sat upright for the first time. Eyes wide. It's happening again. Time is peeling. The ceiling rippled. The wallpaper crawled. Claire's phone dimmed to black. And Arlen said something she would never forget. When the world resets itself, it leaves behind debris. I am debris. A soul without thread. The system keeps me in case it needs to remember how the error happened. Claire's head spun. Her hands felt like smoke. He reached out and touched her arm. Her memories changed. She suddenly remembered visiting him as a child. She remembered drawing pictures in his room. She remembered whispering secrets to him through the vent. But that couldn't be real. She wasn't raised here. Was she? She tried to leave. The hallway looped. Room 612. 614, 616. Then again. She screamed for help. The hospital was silent. When she finally broke a window, all she saw outside was black fog. No city. No sky. No world. Just the tower. The room. The man. Arlen sat quietly, watching her unravel. You're not the first nurse. There have been 17. Some stayed. Some ceased. But you, Claire. You're different. You ask the right questions. She backed against the wall. He smiled. You can help me leave. Or you can take my place. Choose. The world shimmered around him. Claire felt something in her pocket. Not hers. A locket. Inside, a photo of her and Arlen. Her handwriting on the back, "We'll always be together." She didn't remember writing that. But she also did. She stepped forward. Then, a new hire was assigned to the night shift at St. Alora's. They told her to avoid the East Wing. Condemned, full of black mold. But once, while walking past the sealed doors, she heard a voice on the other side. A woman's voice. "It's okay, Arlen. I'm still here." And something else. Something deeper. Something humming behind the walls, watching. Story 2. The Star That Shouldn't Shine. In the year 2039, humanity witnessed an astronomical anomaly that defied every known law of physics. A rogue star appeared in the night sky. It did not blaze into view with the typical herald of gravitational disruption or cosmic radiation. It simply appeared just above the constellation Lyra. The star pulsed not with light, but with presence. Observatories worldwide scrambled to calculate its trajectory, but it did not move. Nor did it orbit, flare, or die. It hung in the heavens like an eye that had always been there, just unseen. They called it Nihal. An old, forgotten name found in Arabic star charts, meaning quenching of thirst. But the thirst it brought was of a different kind. At first, the rogue star seemed inert. No measurable light curve, no X-ray bursts, no neutrino emissions. It didn't even show up in the radio spectrum. But then the dreams began. Across the globe, scattered at first but rapidly synchronizing, people started reporting identical dreams. Impossible structures, infinite hallways curving back into themselves, staircases leading simultaneously up and down. Walls that breathed. Skies that bled. The geometry wasn't Euclidean. It wasn't even Riemannian. Mathematicians grew pale trying to sketch what people described. Some wept. Others tore their notes apart. EEG scans of sleeping subjects revealed synchronized neural activity during REM cycles. Thousands of miles apart. People who had never met were having conversations in dreams. Speaking languages they had never learned. Some woke screaming. Others didn't wake at all. Then came the frequencies. Nihal began emitting something measurable. Not light, not sound, but low-frequency gravitational pulses. They resonated just above the auditory threshold, yet registered in the brain. An ultra-low hum that bypassed the ear entirely. It wasn't meant to be heard. It was meant to be received. Those who were particularly sensitive. Musicians, schizophrenics, children, and epileptics, reported it first. The star is speaking. But it wasn't speaking to us. Dr. Elliot Rayner had been blind since birth. He had once called it a gift from the silence between the stars. A renowned astronomer and sensory data interpreter, he specialized in sonifying astronomical data. Turning light curves and spectra into soundscapes that he claimed carried meaning no eye could perceive. When Nihal appeared, Dr. Rayner was already dying. Pancreatic cancer. 3 months to live. But when he heard the first data recordings of the gravitational pulses translated into sound, he demanded to be taken to the observatory. He listened. For hours. Then days. And he changed. Dr. Rayner spoke less and less. He claimed the star was not a star at all, but a message. One not broadcast, but invoked. He said its signals weren't aimed at Earth. They were search tones. Lock-on pings. They're calling to something buried here, he whispered to his assistant, a young doctoral student named Mel Carter. Something old enough to have forgotten its own name. The dreams are just echoes. We're not the intended recipients. When pressed, he refused to say more. But he began composing sheets of music, indecipherable polyphonic scores of atonal chords and non-repeating patterns. Music theorists dismissed them as gibberish. Yet when synthesized and played through low-frequency speakers, animals would flee the area. People would weep. Some would go catatonic. Dr. Rayner called the piece Symphony of Keys. Not for doors, he told Mel. For cages. By the 6th month after Nihal's arrival, nearly 40,000 people were missing. Vanished without trace. The dreams had grown stronger. Some were sleepwalking into forests, lakes, abandoned mines. Others dug with their bare hands in basements, subway tunnels, even graveyards. Mel discovered a pattern in the disappearances. They traced a symbol. A glyph seen in the dreams. An impossibly complex shape, known now as the glyph of Nihal. A multidimensional sigil that, when projected into space-time coordinates, pointed not to the star, but underneath us. To the Earth's mantle. "We were never the hosts," Dr. Rayner said, now gaunt and unable to leave his bed. "We are the soil. The nutrients. The casing. The shell." Nihal pulsed one final time. Global seismic readings surged. Not from tectonic plates, but from the core. The Earth trembled. And in that moment, all signals ceased. Dreams stopped. Frequencies fell silent. And 112,000 people vanished in a single night. Gone. Mel returned to Dr. Rayner's room, only to find him already dead. But in his hand was a recording device. On it, a final message. Not spoken. Sung. Mel played it once. Then erased it. It has been 5 years since Nihal appeared. It is still there, hanging in the sky like a frozen tear. The world has tried to move on. No new frequencies have come. The disappearances are treated as unexplained mass psychosis. Governments have erased most public data on Nihal. Observatories have been shuttered. Mel Carter disappeared a year after Dr. Rayner's death. But in the Arctic Circle, a hidden research station has been rebuilt. The Symphony of Keys was never truly destroyed. It's being studied. The glyph, now encoded into defense satellite software, is quietly watched for echoes. Last week, a probe sent to Mars recorded a low-frequency gravitational pulse. It matched the signature of Nihal. Except for one detail. This one was a reply. And it came from beneath the surface of Mars. Story 3. The Immortality Auction. By the year 2156, humanity had shed many myths, but created one to replace them. Immortality. Not the digital consciousness upload, not cryogenic sleep or genetic tinkering, but the real thing. True biological, eternal life. Perfect cell regeneration. Immutable memory. Ageless thought. It had been pioneered by ON, a global tech consortium composed of 8 megacorporations. Private, secretive, untouchable. The process, known only as Containum, was derived from a hybrid of quantum bioweaving and neural lattice stabilization. The details were arcane, shrouded in patents and redacted white papers. And it could only be administered once a year. To one person. The Immortal Auction was the most secretive, secure, and perverse event on Earth. Each year, one slot was sold to the highest bidder. Always in private. Always off-grid. The price was staggering. Not just in wealth, but in leverage. Bidders offered not only money, but influence. Blackmail, military access codes, rare artifacts, votes, even sovereign territories. The winner never spoke publicly. The losers never spoke again. It was the ultimate prize. Eternal life. But only for the one who could pay the most. Dr. Mira Kale had never dreamed of living forever. She dreamed of ending it. Once a rising bioethicist at Geneva Corps, Myra's sister, Lila, died after being rejected for a critical cancer treatment, one that had been rerouted as part of ON's exclusive longevity trials. Myra's life unraveled. Her work was discredited. Grants dried up. She was blacklisted, then erased. And then she disappeared. For 7 years, she worked in the shadows, building a network of exiles, whistleblowers, anarcho-hackers, outcast scientists. They called themselves the Ashes. Their goal was singular: burn down the Containum. Through digital sleight, impersonation, and the sacrifice of 4 of her closest allies, Mira was able to do the unthinkable. She hacked into the ON core servers during the week of the 207th Immortal auction. Her mission was to inject a virus, Thanatos, into the Containum mainframe. If successful, the next Immortality procedure would fail catastrophically, rendering the subject comatose and corrupting all archived neural patterns. But as she tunneled deeper, the data revealed something she hadn't expected. The auction data stretched back 206 years. Mira cross-checked winners with history. Wars, economic collapses, political assassinations, regime changes. And it didn't add up. Each supposed winner had different names, backgrounds, nationalities. But the biometric core? Identical. The same person had won the auction every single year. Not through chance. Not even through influence. Through design. Whoever this was, whoever had been first to undergo the Containum process, had engineered the conditions of every single auction since. Currency crashes before their rivals could bid. Assassinations of competitors. Fabricated scandals. Entire wars orchestrated just to distract nations from competing. Mira isolated the master pattern hidden in the auction code, a subroutine known as primogen. It overrode the bidding system entirely. There was never a real auction. There was only one immortal. Mira pushed further. Every time this being re-entered society with a new identity, they used it to gain more control over the world's data, tech, and geopolitical levers. They had been emperors and dissidents. CEOs and martyrs. Dictators and whistleblowers. They were ON. Every founder. Every face. Every myth. All played by one eternal puppet master. In a secure, buried server cluster, hidden under the Mariana Trench, labeled the Mausoleum, she found their personal archive. Over 2 centuries of diary logs. Each entry cold, calculating. Entry number 14,080. The trick is not in winning the auction. The trick is ensuring there are no worthy contenders. History is malleable. People are malleable. Memory is the only threat. Which is why I killed the woman who invented synthetic temporal recall. Twice. Entry number 20,002. I have become my own competition. In 1 century, I will need to forget myself. Let a new version emerge. This one grows weary. Too many ghosts. Entry number 31,774. The next generation of Immortality is almost ready. It won't need the yearly reset. Once I activate it, there will be no need for primogen. The charade can end. I will no longer be many. I will be final. As Mira prepared to upload the Thanatos virus, a screen flickered to life. No login prompt. No camera. Just a voice. Male. Timeless. Patient. You're more impressive than most, it said. But you're not the first. Mira froze. I created the resistance. The ashes. I seeded it. I needed to know how close someone could get. You were an experiment. I wanted to test if I still feared death. A video file appeared on her interface, entry number 47893, kill switch. You passed, the voice said. You frightened me. So I made a choice. The file began playing. Mira watched as the immortal injected himself with a serum. Not contain him. Something else. He convulsed. Aged. Withered. Died. Then the screen went dark. 6 months later, the immortal auction resumed. And again, the highest bidder won. Only this time, the biometric scan matched Mira Kale. A different woman. A different voice. But as she looked out from the balcony of the ON Tower, her eyes were the same cold gray as the one who came before. Deep below, in the mausoleum servers, the latest entry had been logged. Entry number 1, Mira. Fear is the ultimate test of identity. He feared losing control. I don't. Let history wonder whether I became him. Or whether he became me. The final lines were written in an older voice. The only real immortality is continuity. And sometimes, that means starting again. The system remains. As do I. Thank you for watching. Please like, share and subscribe for more Rogue Nightmares videos.